Australian-made Hawkei light-armoured tactical vehicles could soon be rolled out on the front line of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. The seven-tonne vehicles, which are made in Ballarat, are expected to be the centrepiece of a new support package for the war-torn country. Anthony Albanese expected to announce the delivery next month at a NATO summit in Lithuania. It comes as we're also seeing reports of potential old F-18 fighter jets that Australia has right now that are destined for the junkyard, could also be part of Ukraine's arsenal going forward. Let's go live now to Matthew Sussex, who's a fellow at the ANU Strategic and Defence Studies Centre. Thanks very much for your time. I guess the two big kits to talk about, the fighter jets really got my attention. Apparently they're sort of not going to be used by us anymore, but will they still be handy for Ukraine in its ongoing war against Russia?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Tom. These classic Hornets are basically very similar to what the Ukrainians have been requesting from the United States, the F-16. And, you know, we have 41 of them, which appear to be in pretty good nick. A few of them probably would need to be cannibalised for spare parts, but the vast majority of them could be employed. It would take a while to get them to Ukraine, of course, and there's plenty of processes to work through in order to get that deal done. But it would, in fact, be very, very helpful to the Ukrainians.
The other kit we've got pictures of now, the so-called Hawkeis, look, they're pretty much state-of-the-art. And these can also be used to launch pretty significant weapons as well.
Yeah, that's right. The Hawkeis, and we've got quite a lot of them. I think 1,100 in total, with some on order, but about 450 basically sitting in a garage. The Hawkeis are very, very useful because they provide a sort of mobile air defence platform. And the things that the Ukrainians have been really worried about is their ability to contest Russia's dominance of the skies, because if they're going to launch a counteroffensive, then that means at present the Russian forces will be able to attack them from the air, and the Hawkeis are really valuable in giving the Ukrainians just the ability to fight back and not have so many of them potentially die on the battlefield.
These are the headlines over the past few weeks. Ukraine readying for offensive. Is it hoping here to be successful enough where they might be able to almost force Russia out completely? Or is that too ambitious? And even if that's over a case of months?
Yeah. Look, it's very hard to tell at the moment, Tom. Certainly the perspective from Kiev is we want Russia gone from all of our territory, and that includes Crimea, which of course, the Russians seized in 2014. That will be a tough nut to crack. But I think, certainly the Ukrainians have spent a fair bit of time and energy accruing a pretty sizable force. So I'd expect it to be probably a lot more successful than the Russians have been. But how successful, we're just going to have to wait and see, I'm afraid.
How do you describe, if you're asked in 10 seconds, where's the Russia-Ukraine war at right now?
Advantage Ukraine, as long as it can take back some of the territory that Russia has seized, and keep one eye on Russian domestic politics as well.
And that's an interesting last comment, as in, is it fracturing on the Russian side? Fascinating, for example, to see what's happening with the Wagner group and part of their withdrawal.
Yes, I mean, the tensions between Wagner and the military have spilled over basically into open clan warfare, and Putin's system relies very much on everybody being basically loyal to not just him, but the system of sort of informal patronage that Russia operates under. Now, Prigozhin, the leader of Wagner, has gone against that on multiple occasions, and I think he does see himself as a potential, challenger down the track. But more than that, it creates a precedent for other Russian groups and clans to conduct open warfare rather than behind the scenes. So I think Putin's ability to keep a lid on his elites is starting to fray.
That's a fascinating what you allude to right there. And I guess your final take, what's the best and worst case scenario for Ukraine as this year folds out, do you think?
Oh, look, the worst case scenario is the counteroffensive stalls, doesn't really go anywhere. The Russians mobilise more people and counterattack, take more Ukrainian territory. and basically Ukraine is forced to the bargaining table to accept a really bad compromise. Best case scenario is that it liberates all of its territory. I'd like to think it can. I'm not convinced yet that that's going to be the case, but we've underestimated the Ukrainian military on numerous occasions. So I don't think we should write that off entirely.
Is the one thing you might think Ukraine bends on Crimea? If it gets the rest and it's in a position to do any sort of deal, that might be the reluctant thing they give up?
Look, it might be, but again, it's too soon to tell. Because if you're Zelensky, if you're the Ukrainian president, then it certainly wouldn't do any good to start sending any signals whatsoever about saying, well, Crimea might be on the bargaining table. I think the message has been pretty clear that really, if Russia retains Crimea, then Ukraine is threatened for the rest of its existence. That is a place from which Russia can have another go once it's reconstituted its military, and so Ukrainians will really, I think, never feel safe until Crimea is back in their possession. In case that doesn't happen, then certainly Ukraine would want very, very strong security guarantees from the West to help it should tensions boil over again down the track.
Always good to get your thoughts, Matthew Sussex. Thank you.